remember I will literally go to parties and we're like, just chilling and drinking. And I'll be like, guys, let's watch Violet Evergarden
Why would
episode
you
10.
do this? You're supposed to be having a good time.
We are. And then we're bonding through it, And then I was just like,
We're trauma
everyone
bonding
comes
out
in
here.
just like you, completely blind. And I was just like, they don't know what's coming.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Josei Junkies. We're an anime podcast about all things anime, manga, webtoons, donghua, and more. My name is Iso.
And I'm Kane. And so last episode, we kind of talked about like fall anime that we're both kind of like excited to talk about. I mean, to watch. So I was thinking like maybe this week, can we talk more like about manga or webtoons?
Yeah. Have there been any that you've been wanting to talk about?
Oh my god, there is. I have to tell you about it. But I read a lot of them, but recently this is the one that I read. And also, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like advertised to everyone, or maybe it's just like targeted. But it's called The Broken Ring. This marriage will fail anyways. Is that such an angsty title?
Dude, the titles nowadays are so long, but this is like so straightforwardly just like, wow, this is gonna be fucked up.
No, like actually, I think it's pretty short. Some of the ones that I've seen, especially Japanese titles, are the longest thing I've ever seen. I wish I wrote some of them down, but oh my
Dude,
god,
they're literal like paragraphs now. Like
they are.
when I started seeing them, I was like, I don't know if you ever listened to like Fall Out Boy or like Panic at the Disco, but it reminded me of when their song titles came out and they were like the longest song titles ever. And I was like, are they copying like the 2000s emo songs? We're just gonna like
Oh my
write a
gosh.
paragraph as a title.
It's like the entire plot, essentially, like from like beginning to end in one title. I don't understand.
I guess their teachers just told them, hey, be really concise in your titling so we know what you want to talk about.
It's just a little much sometimes. I can't imagine. Anyway, so the one that I was reading, I think it is a manhwa or webtoon, and you can read it online. But it's just so angsty, and there's trigger warning, spoilers too. Um, yeah, it's just really messed up. You start the story with this, kind of like almost she's like dressing like a widow. She dresses like a widow, and she's just like, um she's engaged to the most beautiful man in the kingdom, that she forced him to marry her since she was like really young, like 6 or 8. And he was like crying when she was like, I'm gonna marry you. And he was just like, no, I don't want to marry you. And then later on he grows up to be like a playboy, all of this stuff. And then she caught him in midst of all of his affair, and then he was just like, no, this is a mistake, she's gonna be mad at me because she's in love with me. And it turns out she's like, I'm not in love with you, I don't really care for you. And then you find her whole backstory. It's so messed up. You need to read it. Her backstory is so messed up.
Dude, that's like you got double fucked over. But I like the fucked up shit. Like, relatable. We just all have trauma, okay? Trauma bonding.
Oh my gosh. It's very real. I think they talk about very real subject that I think a lot of people shy away from. So it's interesting to see how it's like, portrayed in media.
Wait, so I'm trying to get this right. So her first husband had affairs and
No,
said,
that's her current husband.
"Oh,
Sorry.
current
Her first
husband."
husband is really messed up. But you need to read it for that one. It's so messed up.
But that's so sad. Oh wait, are both the guys hot or is the first husband ugly?
The first husband is okay.
Oh, they made him
But
okay. Wow,
yeah,
that's
they made him
crazy.
okay. Yeah, because she was actually in love with him in the first
Oh,
life.
that's so sad.
I know, it was like her first love and all of this stuff, and then yeah, it was just a terrible lifetime. So she just, I guess, didn't want to get married, but because she's like from a prestigious family, she has to be married. This whole thing.
What?
But you should read it because right now, I don't know if you like this trope, but for me, I like the trope of at first the girl is in love with the male lead and then gets betrayed, and then the male lead is going after her. I like that trope more than just like the female chasing the entire
Wait, so
time.
the second male lead does go after her, not the other way around? I thought you said the first
Yes.
female. Well, sorry,
Okay,
not
okay.
the first one.
Sorry, I'm trying to give you like a brief summary without giving too much away. But essentially, her most current lifetime, the main character, the main male lead,
Mm.
he is like at first curious why she like had to marry him, and then afterward, she expressed no interest in him because when she found out about his affair, she was just like, "You can continue it even after we're married. Just keep it on the
What?
download." Yeah, isn't that
What?
crazy? And then he was like, "Why? Why would you say that? Just admit that you're upset about it. You know, I know you love me." And she's like, "I don't care about you.
Dude,
I don't
okay,
care
that's the
about what
fucked
you
up
do."
shit. That's the
And
fucked up
so
shit.
and then so he's like dumbfounded, but then later on he's just like, "Well, I'm more loyal than you think because after we're
Bitch, he
married,
just
there's no
cheated! What
I
the?
know.
No, that's
He's like, "No."
bullshit!
So no, after he's just like, "After we're married, it's only gonna be me and you, girl." And I was just like,
Yo,
"Bro, I don't know how this is gonna
toxic.
play out."
Yo, how many red flags we got here? Girl wearing some rose-colored glasses right now.
Oh my god,
Like,
it's
did she not learn the
so
first time?
I think what it is she's hoping that he's just like so fed up with her after she's like marries him, then she'll like he'll divorce her, you know? And then because she's a widow, she wouldn't have to be forced to marry someone else.
Oh, cause wait, is this one of the historical like Western
Yeah, like
historical
where the
kind of?
duke and, you
Yeah.
know, the
Okay. Okay.
kingdom,
Okay.
and so she has to marry someone prestigious for the family.
Oh, fuck that shit, man. About
I
to.
know. So I think our girl's just trying to escape, okay?
Yo, man,
Our
she
girl's
needs
just
to create like a harem of women so we can all just be strong women and just to be like, fuck y'all,
Mhm.
man. We are the nobility. What we
And
need
like
you
having to
for?
follow these rules, but like what I like about reading all of these is like kind of seeing the different ways like certain female characters will kind of like, you know, get themselves out of situations and like
Yeah.
formulate to like these are the rules, but I'm gonna work around them. So it's like they're very flexible. Like, you know, they don't like this let the system control
Yeah,
how
yeah,
they
they're
live their
really
life.
crafty. I think it like that's the whole like reincarnation trope because it's like one thing it's like I like but don't like because it's like, oh, I know this from my past life, so I'm not gonna mess up again, or I know
Mhm.
these things, but I kind of wish some stories do it well and some not so well, and I really wish I like the ones that do it well because they don't just straight up say like, oh, I knew this in my past life, so I'm not gonna do it this time. They like use it more craftily on like how they're gonna craft the story and make it different and twist it around. It's not very
Mhm.
straightforward, and that's like so interesting.
I think so too. That's why I like some of them, but again, I'm very picky. That one, I think it's like the plot is a little bit more interesting than the other ones. A lot of them you just read, they're just junk food. There's something about
Truly.
reading and getting like justice because of like how unfair some things have gone throughout your life, you know?
Yeah,
That like you're able to go back and be like, "No, this time I'm not going to fall for it again. I'm
dude.
not going to be dumb and fall for you again."
Did you
You
know
know?
there's like a whole Reddit for that called like justice porn?
What? That's a
Yeah,
thing?
it's like a Reddit like section, and it's just like I mean it's not specific to manga, but it's like a whole thing of just people posting like videos or stuff of just people like getting justice where it's like someone was speeding, but then they like get like justice karma comes to them, like the police find them or something,
Oh,
or like
I love it when justice is served.
yeah, I think it was like I guess example would be like, oh, someone hit someone like on a motorcycle, right? And like
Mhm.
nothing happened, but then like they person in the motorcycle keeps driving and then up the way they find them getting pulled over by a cop. It's like that kind of
Oh
thing. It's like,
my
yes,
gosh.
karma, truly, but
Karma served on a silver platter.
feels so good.
Anything you've read recently? Any manga you've read recently?
Um I read what was I think the most recent one I read was like Sadistic Beauty. I mean,
Oh my god,
I've been reading it,
dude.
but last chapter I just read was like pretty I don't even know how to feel cuz like both characters are so shitty, but they
Wait,
kind of
wait,
make
wait.
you
Are you
feel. Hmm.
sorry? Are you reading the original Sadistic Beauty or are you reading the BL one?
The BL the side story BL one. I already read the first
Oh, I
one,
see.
but the first one is just kind of like, okay, yeah, this is all kind of fucked up. But the side story one is like, woo. Yo man, trigger warning, spoiler warning, fucked
So
up
many
shit.
warnings, dude. So many warnings. Every warning you could think of, it's there.
Yeah, dude, just like beware. Yeah. I remember reading too that the author based the not the seme but the uke off of one of her ex-boyfriends.
No way.
Yeah, tell me that isn't fucked up.
That's pretty messed up.
Like imagine you are the ex-boyfriend and you're reading that too. I'm just like, my god, the vendetta.
Bro. That that's so funny how that is still justice. They're trying to get their own
Yeah.
of justice
Where
through art.
it's like fictional, but it's like, man, I can't fuck you up in real life, but like if I could, this is what I would want to happen to you because this is how you are. Yeah. I don't know, that's like so wild to me. I'm like, that's very much like, I feel like a female way of like getting back at someone where it's like, I don't want to get killed, but I know that's still kind of risky if he knows it's him.
That's true. It's still really scary.
Yeah. But
Well, how will he know? How will they know?
How will they know? How they're not gonna know. No.
Yeah.
Dude, no, it was like, well, how far have you read into it? Have you read it?
Yeah, I've read I mean, I just skip around to it because I don't really care too much. I just wanted to see it's a curiosity of seeing how things will play out because I'm like, this is really messed up. Like, how are they planning to end this in a way that is somewhat acceptable?
Dude, I ask myself that every day. I like always go to the comment section and everyone's just like, I don't even know how you can redeem this. But then it's so sad because then you see it's like everyone's starting to feel for like the other dude, like the seme, even though he's like really like nothing he has done has been okay. Like imprison this
But
dude.
that's what I'm saying. Is it like not you're trying to sympathize with the with the bad people?
I feel like they're
almost?
trying to make it that like you sympathize with like they're both so shitty that they deserve each other kind of thing. It feels like it's going there.
Oh,
Because
I'm like, I just don't see like the path towards growth, but I'm so curious about how it's gonna end. Like, I don't see them like growing, and they're just both really messed up in the head. And in that case, they're messed up together and they're healing together, or you'd think they're just gonna spiral into the hell.
I think it's one of those like what's the word, cyclical, like toxic relationships where it's like, if you're in like a healthy relationship, that means like you're okay on your own but you're better together. But this is one of the like codependency where like they both are gonna end up needing each other, whereas like the seme's needs the other dude because like he's so okay. I'm just gonna kind of go out with spoilers here where like he needs him.
Spoiler warning,
Spoilers. He needs him for like the support because like his family wants him to be like the CEO and he has like a really toxic family situation even though he's rich. And he like finds comfort in like feeling and like kind of starting to feel what he thinks might be, love, quote unquote. I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't think it's love, but for him, so like that dependency, and he needs him. He's like, you're the only one for me in that sense, even though he does all this fucked up shit to him. Whereas like the uke is like poor and needs all the money from the seme. Is like, oh, he's like supporting him, and he doesn't have any family or anyone who really cares about him. Everyone's like left him behind because of all the shitty things he's done. So like there's this codependency where they only have each other, but at the same time, like the uke wants more. Like, I don't know. That's what's so shitty about him, where he like, I don't want to say he doesn't deserve more, but he kind of like, he hasn't done anything to redeem himself either to deserve more. And
because he's really messed up, and even the other one, but
yeah, he like plagiarized his friend.
yeah, and there's just so many things that he did, but at the same time, do we just want to see him being punished for the bad things that he's done?
I don't know what I want to see.
Is the series turning us into sadistic people?
I don't know. I think maybe that's what's so interesting about it, because like no one really knows where it's going, and that's why you want to read, because you're like, I don't even know what I want out of this. I just want to know what's happening, because this dude is just like, okay, trigger warning, but like he ends up getting like gang by
Bape.
yeah gang baped by some people's
God.
and then Seme gets really mad, but then he's also like so sorry, and it's just like a really fucked up relationship. Like, and then it's so sad because like Luca is just like, it's like no different from what you've done to me, so why does it matter? Why are you so angry about it? And when you're like, oh my god, it's true, but oh my god, I just feel so conflicted. And I guess that kind of in a way makes it a good story, because like you want these stories to give you something to feel and like something to question. Like, it's not just a straightforward spoon-fed like this and this happened happily ever after. It's like, people are not like one track mind. Like people do fucked up shit. People, I mean, maybe not that fucked up, but
Mhm.
on different spectrums. And it's like, how do people deal with that? And how do you react? How do you cope? Like, and why
Mhm.
people are the way they are? Like, so interesting to me.
Yeah. I think it's important if they give them the backstory because otherwise I don't care for it. But having the backstory have a better understanding of how they came to be, even if it's obviously unexcusable and very
Yeah.
emo-.
No, for sure, for sure. I feel like my favorite stories are always the ones where you have like fucked up characters, but they give the backstory on like how they came to be, even if it's
Yeah.
fucked up. Because it's like, at least you can see where they're coming from, even if you don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Which I also
I just
think,
hope like it's not to justify these terrible action, because
yeah,
that's freaking messed up.
I feel like it's also very good for like real life because it helps me like try to like understand other people where it's like, man, I definitely don't agree with how you think, but I do want to know
Mhm.
why you think the way you do and try to understand it. So then maybe you can kind of deconstruct it or like talk to them more like on a similar level. It's like not coming out of like judgment and just saying like you're wrong. Cuz no one
Yeah.
ever responds well to being told they're wrong. You have to like, connect with them at some level. And then once they feel like, "Oh, okay, we're not so different you and I," you can kind of be like, "So why do you feel the way about this? Do you really think that's right?" Cuz maybe
I,
we actually think more similar than differently.
yeah. And then I do really believe that a lot of people are, I think I believe in choice. Like
Mm.
obviously everyone is like, if you're given a path, you can make the choice and part of it is your responsibility. But some people are the product of their situation as well.
Mm.
It's like that idea of nurture versus nature.
Mm.
How much
Mm.
of it is your natural, like, how you are versus how much of it is your environment.
Mm.
And like how much of that is really dependent on how that person will turn out. Because you can have the exact same people, but just given either how they view the world or their environment, they can be completely different.
That's so true. That's like especially you can see with like what's it like the wealth gap where it's just like people who are like I feel wealthy will never fully understand people who are poor because they just never had to
Mhm.
live that life and it's really
Yeah.
hard for them to help that when they don't really
Mm.
know what's wrong and then poor people like they act a certain way and they do these things because like a lot of times out of survival and rich people like just don't do that and they don't understand like
Mm.
they're not doing it because they want to, they're doing it because they have to.
I think this is the analogy that or the visualization I like is like the one where it's like a group of students and the teacher, put a trash can in the front and told all the students to crumple some paper and throw it. And
Mm.
whoever can throw it into the trash can in the front of the classroom, gets whatever reward. And then all the students in the front obviously make it because they're so much closer. And all of the students in the back are really struggling, but they only know the struggling when they can see the other students just succeeding in front of them. So a lot of times people
Ah,
can't really see what is behind them and they can only see forward, right? So
yeah.
that needs like a certain level of empathy. So some people who are like really at the bottom are the ones who can really see the gaps and stuff. And I think that's why like fictional stories or any type of media to kind of tell these stories are important to kind of like develop the empathies. Maybe like
Mm.
that they wouldn't have understood it unless it's like, shown to them or like expressed in a way that they can understand better. So that's why I really like these things as well, because even though, and I think you're right, I think being able to understand the terrible people, the things they do, makes it like you kind of like strip away a layer that they're like,
Yeah,
hiding,
yeah.
and then see the human aspect of them and then really see them for who they really are.
Mm.
Because sometimes not everyone's defined by their action, right? So I don't know. It's conflicting because part of me is just like so black and white. I'm like, you're wrong, go to jail forever. But part of me is just like
You
I
do
also
not
want
pass
to see
go.
those people. I
Do
know.
not collect 200.
And but at the same time, I really do want to see everyone as human and like, be sympathetic and empathetic for them.
I feel like a lot of us have really struggled with that in like this day and age, especially. And I've noticed like there's been such a lack of empathy, but I also feel like we want to see the best in people too,
Mhm.
even though, but we've come to the point where we're just so frustrated with not seeing people change or people like want to help others that we're like back and forth, It's like we want to be empathetic, but we're also just so done with everything.
Yeah, it's hard. I think you have to find a balance.
Yeah.
I think shows like these that like really, are really messed up
Mm.
are like kind of I kind of that's why I like Demon Slayer even though I personally think it's a little like overhyped and everything.
Mm.
I like it because it tells the demon's backstory as well.
Yes, 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 yes,
And
yes.
rather than just giving like, oh, you fight the bad people because they're bad, bad, good, bad, good, like you have such a black and white mindset
Mm.
of it. I like that it's like, yeah, these demons are terrible. They've killed people, but ultimately they are just the product of their circumstances and the
Mm.
choices that they made. But having seeing that backstory empathizes with them a little bit, like, oh, you feel bad for them. And I think Tanjiro is a well done character because he has such a deep level empathy that like no matter what he's going to be able to like see them for who they really are, and maybe that's what they're missing. All the terrible people in the world are just perceived as demons, but
I mean, isn't that literally what a demon is when you say like, "Oh, I'm fighting my demons?" It's like you're fighting
mhm,
the part of you that you're like, they're not doing the right thing and they're not doing what they should be doing. And that's why they're
yeah.
called demons. But that's so true. Like, I mean, I agree with you. I feel like Demon Slayer is very overhyped. Not to say that it isn't a good anime. Like, I love the animation. I definitely watch it. It's just like in the end, it's still a shonen, but it is very good in that it does talk about like the demon's backstory. It's like I remember feeling so bad. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
This whole thing is spoilers. Um, so bad for like the siblings where it's like, man, they're so evil and they just kind of go for it, but they really just want to please like their master because one, they were kids and they were starving kids and they all they know is to survive, like they're
Mhm.
just literally like what's his name, the older brother, his whole like representation of him being like super like was it emaciated, super skinny, I don't know the word for it, it's like
Yeah.
I think it's emaciate, something like that, but like super skinny because like he lived starving, and even then all he did was like protect his whiny little sister who just wanted to be a kid, like they both just wanted to be kids,
Yeah.
and we treat them as evil because of what they did to survive. Like even when they
Mhm.
turn demons, what they're doing is to like survive. Like they have to do it to survive, and yet we, no pun intended, demonize them.
I'm done with you. Get out of here.
Yo, I didn't even try for that one. It just came. But like it's so like you just want to think about it and be like, are they really so bad? Like, and that's why Tanjiro is so cool because like he recognizes that they didn't want to be demons, and I guess so much so because of Nezuko being his own sister and turning to a demon. But she was
Mhm.
fortunate enough to be able to resist whatever the urge or whatever the mind control, I guess it would be. I don't know what you would call it exactly,
Yeah.
of
The
what all.
poison,
Yeah,
Muzin's poison.
yeah, of like that, like she was fortunate in that aspect to be able to do that, whereas these other ones, and in one sense it's also because like it could be said because she had the family to support her through it, whereas like a lot of these demons who turned into demons didn't have like a support system, like they were at their wits end, they were like they turned into demons, and Muzan came up to him and was like, hey, I can get you out of this shitty situation, and he was the hand that reached out. And so that's what they end up doing. It's like they had no choice. They were products of their circumstances through
Yeah.
and through to the end.
It's so true, and I like that it's portrayed that way. I think it does. It's a very good shonen in that way,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of shonen. Well, I guess Naruto does that as well. They do a very good job at showing empathy a lot,
Mm.
especially like war torn
Yes, yes.
characters and characters who are ostracized and all of these things. So it's like everyone kind of carries these wounds with them,
Mm.
but I like shows that really kind of highlight that because again someone out there will be able to relate, and then seeing these characters heal maybe give them hope that it's possible for them as well. So it's like all these media and like all these anime could be very helpful because I feel like I've healed a lot through like just watching Naruto or like any anime back then because I'm just like, wow, there's so much hope. And growing up, my motto was like, what is it? Beauty, friendship, and love. Like a
Okay,
real,
Sailor Scout out here.
a real, what is it, magical girl? Because I feel like, but it's like if I'm not gonna learn the morals from being outside and like the people around me, I
Mm.
gotta learn it somewhere, so I
Yeah.
feel like anime really shaped that for me, and it helped me kind of like learn these morals and these
No, I think so too.
ideals.
I think it really did. And on that note, I don't even think it was just anime that did that. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, like, I watched like normal cartoons too, like,
Mm.
and it's like really interesting now as an adult looking back at like some of them and like realizing, wow, they actually taught you a lot of lessons as a kid that you didn't realize you were being taught. Like, what was it like? Oh man, I can't think off the top of my head, but I feel like it was like Dexter's Lab and just like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Dude, that show was so scary though.
Yeah,
If
that show
anything,
was
it
scary.
just gave me nightmares.
Dude, it
Like,
still gives me nightmares, to be honest. I don't know
it's
why they let
like,
that on a kid's channel.
but he faces through, even though it's very scary for him, and
Yeah.
he's a very frightened creature. He still carries through and like tries to help people and his family.
Yeah, look, he even tries to protect, was it Eustace? Even though Eustace treats him
Eustace
like shit.
was so mean, dude. Honestly, you should have dropped Eustace. Eustace was so mean.
But isn't that like the life lesson that like even sometimes if people like treat you like shit, like people will still want to stand up for them, like they still see like the good in them. Like every episode Eustace is just a shitter and he karma comes to him and shit happens to him, but Courage still like, I mean, Courage only tries to help was it Miriam, but like in the end Eustace still comes back and Courage is still part of their family, and then Miriam married Eustace, like she's still in this relationship and still keeping Courage as a dog despite Eustace.
It's just crazy. Yeah, and Fairly Odd Parents too. It's a lot of things. I feel like cartoons does that, but that's what I mean. Like in general media, it could be books, it could be television show, it could be like just anything.
Yeah.
They're like meant to, but it also requires someone to like watch it with an open mind and the willingness to internalize some of the lessons or like these ideas.
Yeah.
So it really depends as well on the
Man,
person.
on the theme of like Josei Junkies too, though, that also reminded me of like Powerpuff Girls when there was the Rowdy Rough Boys, and the whole thing of like
Mm-hmm.
how to defeat them was just basically showing that like they could be soft. And it was like, I think it was like they gave them like a kiss and then they like disappeared back into their like ingredients. It's like the whole solution was just to show like feeling, I guess. After like they tried to portray like the Rowdy Rough Boys as like guys can only be tough boys, you know, they gotta be
Oh, that's so
mean. And
cute.
it's like
Yeah.
they try to fight them, they try to like use all these like their powers, and it's like that didn't do shit. You just have to like be feminine, or I don't even want to say be feminine. It's just show empathy, show some feeling, and not everything
Show
has to be about
love.
fighting.
Yeah. Overpower them with the power of love, beauty, justice.
And a little bit of chemical X.
I know. So that's interesting. Anyways, what were we talking about? I think we were talking about
We were talking about Demon Slayer and like the
oh yeah,
character
Demon
factors.
Slayer. That's true.
Yeah,
Sadistic beauty. It's messed up.
Sadistic beauty messed up.
There are messed up people out there.
And that's what makes it relatable. Mm-hmm. Not saying that everyone's like on that scale of messed up either, but it's just like, you know, you can take what you can from certain stories and realize like some things are just relatable, and it's nice to see representation in that sense, because I feel like so many things shy away from that, and it makes people feel very isolated in that they don't feel like it's real because they don't see it anywhere else, you know?
Mm, that's true. It's like also the drama tropes, or like where the main character is always broke and poor, and some rich guy comes and save her because she was so good.
Fuck
you know?
that trope, honestly though.
But now there's portraying like, oh, you're just a bad person. Like the female character is just a bad person.
Yeah.
But somehow she still, is able to come to terms with her flaws and still achieve everything.
Dude, and that's so much of a better story too, because like as a female, I always think about things like no one's perfect. Like I'm not perfect, and I appreciate it so much more for the people in my life, especially who like recognize that and like try to help me through it, or like even after I've worked through it, recognizing me as a person and recognizing that I've worked through it and I've become a better person and that I still have work to do, and aren't just trying to like, what's the word, validate me and like encourage this like sheltered just like life of, oh yeah, what you're doing is okay. Like I want people to call me out. I want people to tell me things I've done that have like made them feel not great, or things that are like not okay, or maybe I should improve on, and not just like let me quote unquote, like get away with it, because like how do you improve if people don't tell you? Like you'll just go on your life thinking things are okay because that's what you've known, and then people will blame you and be like, well, you should have known. And I think that's the worst thing, for people to be like, you should have known, because I mean, I think I mentioned it before, like first episode, where it's like common sense isn't necessarily common. So don't assume and make an ass out of you and me.
That's true, but I think that's a very growth mindset, right?
Yeah.
That's like a very growth mindset that not everyone has, and I
Mm.
wish more people would because I think the world would just be better. But I understand some people maybe are still hurting,
Mm.
and it's like one of those things where like how could you possibly heal when you're like still burning,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
from Violet Evergarden.
Yes. Dude, I rewatched.
Dude,
Oh god,
that
I
show
rewatched
is
recently.
so good. Like I literally, if there's anyone who tells me that it's not good, I will fight them tooth and nail because it's done very well. And like there's so many things that I've taken from it. It's like how the what is her boss was just like, "Oh, you're burning. You just don't realize you're burning." And it's
Mm.
true. And I think that really relates cuz for like healing as well.
Yeah,
It's just
definitely.
you just see everyone else like and then if anything you try to like, put out their flames, but you don't realize yourself that you're burning and you need to recognize that first before you can even begin
There was
putting the
that
fire out.
saying too of like, you can't help someone when you're bleeding because then you're just gonna like bleed on them or you'll like hurt the people
Mm. Or
that
you
like,
can't pour from an empty cup.
yeah, lots of sayings for it. But
But I
like,
think Violet does it very well, where it's just like, yeah, it's really terrible things that happen, but you're able to move forward and move on with your life
I feel
as
like
long
it
as you're willing to
does
face
it
it.
so well because they have Violet's story and like she has like the whole war backstory on top
Mm.
of every little mini story that she goes through and the people she experiences, especially
Yeah.
from her as a person who was someone who just like didn't really feel emotion in the first place. And it's like a story of her learning how to handle emotions, I guess, and like what emotions are.
It's so true. And I realized after watching, because I've rewatched Violet Evergarden with so many people, and
Mm.
I have so many people, it's so interesting the episodes that make me cry. Okay, so I cry not all episodes, but the ones that made me like sob uncontrollably are not the same for everyone. It's like maybe like the mom episode
Dude, I think that
for
one
like
makes
most
everyone
people.
cry.
Yeah, yeah, everyone cries for that one, but I realized some people cry more for like the siblings one, for like
Mm.
the marriage one, for like
Mm.
the loved one that like passed away. So there's everyone's kind of like has different feels and it kind of hits it all. Like there's going to be one episode that you're like, "Ooh, ooh, why did they make me feel that?"
I mean, I think it's good because it like everyone has different backstories in real life too, and they choose the episode
Mhm.
that they relate to, and that's usually probably the one that they're gonna cry to because they relate and they can really empathize with the characters.
Yeah, I think it's done so
But
beautifully,
if you
like
ever say
everything.
that Violet Evergarden is not a good anime, you did that after watching the mom
Everything.
episode, you might be sociopathic. I just have to say.
I am so sure. There's just no way. Anyone who's like I'm like it's either they haven't watched it all the way through or they're just watching it in the background while doing something else, so
Yeah,
they're not really absorbing everything.
dude.
So I doubt it. I will freaking fight anyone, okay, if they come at me. Just come at me because I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
Dude, did I tell you when I watched that episode the first time?
What?
I watched it at work, and I wasn't like supposed to be watching videos at work. But I went
No,
into it
it's so
completely blind.
bad.
I was watching it like on my phone and I was like hiding it. Like I was like turning to the side and trying to like hide that I was watching it right because I'm not supposed to be watching. And I remember like watching it with my earphones in and it's like the first thing I did in the morning too. So it was like 9 a.m. or something. And I remember when it ended and I was just like fucking crying in my cubicle and I was just like, I'm so sad. Like, and I had to like hide it because like people were walking by. I'm like, they're gonna look at me. They'll be like, "Why the fuck are you crying at like
Oh
9
Lord.
a.m.? Like, why are you having a mental breakdown?" And I'm gonna be like, "I was watching something I shouldn't have been doing." And emotional feels. Do you love your mother?
Oh my gosh. I think I'm pretty sure it's episode 10 because I remember it every single time and I love that each episode is kind of like its own story. So you can literally start anywhere and it'll
Mm-mm.
still like be a full story.
Yeah,
It's done
yeah.
so well that way because it's so hard to do the pacing
Mm.
in a way that will fit like what 30 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember I will literally go to parties and we're like, just chilling and drinking. And I'll be like, guys, let's watch Violet
yeah.
Evergarden
Why would
episode
you
10.
do this? You're supposed to be having a good time.
We are, and then we're bonding through it. And then I just like
We're trauma
everyone
bonding
comes
out
in
here.
just like you, completely blind, and I was just like, they don't know what's coming.
So fucked up.
Yeah, and then Yeah, we'll just go watch it at the end. Everyone's just crying. They're like, I love you too.
Dude,
So
you know which other one is really good?
what?
Maquia.
Oh, Maquia?
Yeah, where
I
the
cried
prom
with that
star
one
balloons.
too.
Yeah, that one. I like tell everyone to watch that. I'm like, do you love your mother? You have to watch it if
Okay,
you
but
do.
part of that was kind of weird. Like towards like the middle end, when he was like, "Am I into you, mom?" Maybe I
Okay, I
am.
think
That's
everyone thinks
weird.
it was a little weird because no one really knew where it was going. It was kind of like, am I gonna have to like say no to this movie? But
Yeah,
it was
I was like
okay.
halfway through. I was like, I'm not feeling so good.
But
No, it made me very uncomfortable.
it made you uncomfortable. But like when I thought back on it, I also thought it was kind of maybe realistic in the sense that like he was going through like puberty, you know, and it was maybe the age where it's like he didn't really know what feelings were what because he hadn't really had any experience either, and like she was the only female he really knew. And
Mm.
also that whole trope, you know, like the Oedipal complex.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it kind of brings that into play too. So I'm like, it was weird and made you uncomfortable, but it wasn't the worst use of it either. I feel like I could
I
reason
guess
it.
it's still important to address that because
Yeah.
I do think I remember that in child psychology, the classes I took, where it did talk about that is a big part of childhood and breaking away from the idea that this person is yours
Mm.
and real recognizing that you have different relationship with everyone and they're
Mm.
not going to be everything for you. This person will just serve this specific purpose and what you're looking for can be fulfilled somewhere else, not just with one person.
Mm. That makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought of that.
I remember when I was in the theater because I don't know about you, but I'm so glad that they have anime movies near my theaters. But every single time that I go with like my friends, it will be just literally us and then the rest of the room are all dudes. And so it's so funny because we are watching it and then so obviously everyone's crying, right?
Yeah.
But we're just really loud criers. So we're like so sad.
Someone bring a
I
tissue
remember,
box.
yeah, and then I remember at that moment it was like every single head turned to look at us and they're like, there are girls in here. And I was like, so funny. It was one of those moments. I was like, wow, it's a real thing.
Dude,
I
I
was
love
like,
it though. Like guys should be able to cry. Like, dude, seeing guys cry is like okay. I'm into it. Not in like
feel
the not like I
no,
want to
but
beat
they
up dudes.
stopped crying once they found out we were in there. I was like, damn it.
No.
Yeah, we messed it up. Because then I think they felt like maybe it was a safe space to cry. I'm like, it's fine. Everyone can cry. We can cry together.
Yo, it's bonding. Yo, okay, I gotta say, if you want girls, man, just be comfortable with crying. Like girls are into it, I swear, because it like
Mhm.
shows that like you're in tune and okay with your emotions. Like
Yeah,
you're
it's so attractive.
like it's scary when you see guys who don't cry because all I think of is like what is bottled up inside of you that is gonna blow up at some point. Like there
Yeah,
is
yeah.
something brewing.
That's what I think too, where it's just like it's just ready to go anytime. Like it's just better to have like healthy releases
Yeah,
and know that one thing is not going to set up the bomb and
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
just teeter-tottering on,
And crying is
warning zone.
healthy, like for everyone. Like it's literally a physical like reaction to like release. Like your body's doing it
Hmm.
to like help you relax. Like
Anger is too. It's
yeah,
just better ways, healthy ways to, like deal
channel
with it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like I feel so bad when they always say things like don't cry and don't do like don't be angry. It's like no, feel your emotions and like use them and just channel them properly. Like don't take it out on someone else and don't project it on someone else. But like if you
Hmm.
channel it properly, like you should feel it because that's what allows us to feel the range of emotions as we are as humans. Like how can you feel happy if you've never felt sad? Like how would you know the difference?
It's so true. That's like a whole thing where it's like you're meant to feel every little thing in order to like appreciate. It's like you can't appreciate the light if you never knew darkness?
Yeah, wow, you're so deep.
No, stop.
You're so
I'm gonna
deep.
throw up.
Deep thoughts with Kane.
Oh my god, please. Anyways, so let me think. There was another one that I wanted to. Oh, did you read Your Throne?
Yeah, I did. Dude, where do
Oh
you
my
think this
god.
purple hair came from?
That was your inspiration?
Yeah, that was my inspiration. I want to be a queen.
Dude, it's so good. It's one of the series that really break the ideas of like what I think is the normal formula for like
Yeah.
a josei or shoujo. It's so good where it's like it's not just romance romance based. It's like very like girl power, very like, work together,
Mm.
healthy growth.
Who are your favorite characters other than Medea?
I really like Psyche a lot. I didn't think I would like her. When I first met her as a character, I really didn't think. I was just like, oh, it's just this nice saint-like girl, like the main
Mm.
character that
Mm.
you would think of in every single shoujo or josei.
Mm.
But surprisingly, she's like very determined, very hardworking, and like surprised me a lot. Her growth was like really crazy.
Like, what was your point where you were like going from like, oh, she's a typical whatever character to you being like, well, she's actually someone I like. I like her growth. I like what's going on here.
I think it was for like the time when she spoiler, spoiler, spoiler.
You're gonna put spoiler at the beginning of this episode, like
I
these
know, just
serious
the
spoilers.
entire episode.
Yeah.
I think it was when she knew that what is it? She would have to die in order for Medea
Mm.
to switch,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then she voluntarily killed herself for that.
That's
Do you
true.
remember that?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's
I
been a
mean,
while.
I feel like but I respected her before that, but that was one of those moments where I was like, "Oh shit, I don't know. I think maybe she is like one of my top, like maybe even nearing like Medea because she's so badass."
It's like badass, but it's more like almost I want to say like empathy, where she comes to like understanding what needs to happen, what's going on, and like what role
Hmm.
she can play, and what her choices and what she wants to do.
Yeah, I think both of them play a very duality of like Medea emulates like a more masculine version of what like feminine energy is,
Mm.
and then Psyche would be the more feminine, like empathy, right? Feeling other people,
Mm.
taking care of everyone else, and Medea is just like my goals, my accomplishments, getting things done, getting things settled,
Mm.
fighting to make sure that I can protect everyone. So
Yeah.
they're both very like good showing of both sides of like feminine energy.
I mean, and this we say like masculine. She's more masculine, but like, is it even masculine, or is it more just like reclaiming what is thought of as masculine? Because like, why can't a woman stand up for herself? Like, why does it always have to be like, oh, men are
Mm-hmm.
the ones who fight? Like, why can't women fight? Like, what says that they can't do all these things that like Medea does? Like, who
Mm-hmm.
defined that? Like, I'm genuinely curious.
I see. I think of it in terms of like Buddhism, almost like the yin yang, how
Mm.
there is like, more masculine earth energy, and then there's like yin energy which is more ethereal, like very feeling based, and it's hard to like, so like obviously um like Medea would be more yang energy, where it's very
Wait,
like here focus.
Can you go more into the yin and yang and like explain it? So like, which one is which and like what you mean?
Okay, hold on. I think I have to look at the chart because I don't really remember everything. Because like all of the descriptors
Mm.
was like really different. Okay. So yin, which is like black, represent dark, night, cold, weak, retreating, winter, passive, quiet.
Okay.
And then yang, which is white, is light, day, hot, strong, advancing, summer, active, loud. So that kind of energy, I just imagine the sun and the moon,
Mm.
and that's what I kind of envision is like emphasizes one or the other,
Mm.
right? So then Medea would be the sun and Psyche would be the moon, where it's like, again, we talked about how you have to have one side to be able to see the other, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
have to have dark in order to see the light, so things like that. But a lot of time yin energy is more focused on like nurturing and like more like docile and weak, and that is what I imagine is like feminine.
And yin
And
was the
then more
white, right?
yin is black.
Oh, yin is black? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yin is black and it's like more associated with the moon.
Okay.
And then the white would be more yang, and that is like considered like the traditional masculine energy. But I think both, anyone can have both of them in them. But it's fascinating to kind of see both characters like emulate that very
Mm.
clearly.
I mean, shouldn't everyone have yin and yang? Because the whole thing is having balance, right? In oneself.
Hmm. But it's hard to say. I think most people like I think seeing both of them, and you can see them both kind of like gaining that balance, right? Psyche
Mm.
is becoming like strong and like standing up for herself, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
Medea is being more empathetic and understanding. So they're learning from each other.
yeah.
Having them
Yeah,
both
okay.
exist near each other
Definitely,
helps both of
definitely.
them grow.
Yeah. Fun. That's a very interesting way of thinking of it. I hadn't really thought of it like that. But yeah, they're like learning from each other and like embracing parts of each other. Cause like I feel like the webtoon very much goes on the Medea is like the main character and she's so badass and she's like everything you want to be, but they kind of like fail to really think about how was it Psyche is like giving her like almost part of her like femininity for lack of a better word back to her that she had like lost
Mm-hmm.
or like had forgotten because it had made her weak before, I
Yeah.
guess you could say.
Yeah. And both characters from the beginning hated each other because
Yeah.
they're like the opposite of what, you know.
I feel like there
And
was a
then
lot of
now they can see the
misunderstanding
good
too.
side. Yeah. They can see the good side in both of each other. Like, oh, I can see these good traits and this is why they are the way that they are and how
Yes.
I can incorporate that into myself. Because
Dude,
I see both characters growing
we
so much.
we love to see women supporting women.
It's so good. Oh my god, it's one of those years. Like you gotta read it. You
Yes.
got it. It's
It's
so
like
good.
it's
Your
like
throne. Go
just
read your
go
throne.
read it webtoon, but it's just like how many times do we get to see like women just like honestly support women and they don't just like plot them against each other? Like,
Yeah,
man,
that I was so mad in the beginning because I it was down that play for sure. It's like, you know, obviously the prince is in love with the pure, beautiful one. So then I was just like, oh my god, we're going down that same path again. It's one
mm.
of the first series I've read that is just pure, like, I don't care about the guy. We are gonna work together.
Dude, I don't
Because
care about like
you
okay, the
know, like
guy's a pretty
that
good looking, but
blaming, that
like
cheating type, you know, like,
yeah.
oh, if you're cheating, you blame the women rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
like the
The
man.
dude who cheated.
Like Inuyasha, that is peak. Like, what is it? Growing up with the misogynistic mindset, because I always thought, like, I never questioned why the women, you know, they were sides and like fans of
Yeah.
Kagome and Kikyo fighting among each other when the
Yeah.
main problem was Inuyasha all
Like
along.
this bitch doesn't clear his shit up. Man, clean his shit up. Man needs to decide who he wants. No, he's like, I kind of love both of you. And like, is he not in the wrong just because he's the main character?
Honestly, I did not see that until way later
Oh
though, because
gosh.
I didn't recognize that to be a thing. But on another note, I remember that's why growing up too, I always thought like Cinderella was one of Cinderella, like the princess, is one of like the least characters that I like, one of the princesses I didn't like. Because I was
You
like,
okay
oh
there?
my god, she's so useless. Why, what happened?
No, you were like the least character. Like you had trouble saying like, I hate her.
I mean, I didn't she wasn't, like, the one I hated, I just didn't like her as much as
Yeah,
the other ones, you know? There was rank, like,
it was
obviously
like
Mulan, Pocahontas, and, like,
it's because she
Jasmine were
just
all,
like
like, on top.
existed. She existed for like the male gaze of like to be saved, like the typical
Yeah.
princess, what you would think of. You know, like I need
Yeah,
to be saved.
and I just always thought of her as being so weak and so like useless, all of these things. But I realized having that mindset in itself is very toxic
Mm,
because a lot of the quality that she like embodies is like empathy and caring and like being
mm,
the caretaker for the mices and like
mm,
being gentle. And that's how like good things happen to her is because she was so sweet and empathetic and really like true and hardworking, right? But
mm.
I associate those traits as negative because they were
Ah,
feminine traits, but
that's
looking
true.
at it now, like, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think I also had that perception with Toru too. Like, back
Mm,
then, like, I liked the really strong characters. I really like badass, like, female characters because that
mm,
wasn't represented enough.
mm.
But now looking back, the fact that I even, like, dislike those traits is very misogynistic to think about,
I think that's really
right?
true. Actually, I hadn't really thought of it that way because I guess it's like when you're growing up, you're so sick of seeing like women get pushed around that you like feel like, and there's no representation of women just being strong. Like that was the whole thing with like when Wonder Woman and stuff came out, or, like
Mhm.
Captain Marvel, where they're like, wow, look at these women like being strong and fighting on par with men. Like, man, is this how men feel when they see like superhero movies? Because like it felt so empowering just to see a woman like kick ass, you know?
Yeah.
And it made you forget that like empathy was its own strength on its own too, because like I don't know, as I've gotten older and I guess more jaded, I realized like it's so hard to just stay positive and be so empathetic to so many people and just like, you know, put simply like to be kind, but to like everyone without like question almost. Like
Mhm.
it's so hard and people who can do that, I'm always like I want to know their head like how are they able to just like take all this what's happening in the world and what's happening around them and like tune it out and just stay on their own track and be like, no, we need to spread more kindness and not like more negativity.
Yeah. And then that's why it like kind of tied in because that's Psyche for me too. She falls under that trope of characters I wouldn't usually like, but
Mm.
realizing the reason I didn't like them was very, very wrong of me. Very
Mm.
sexist almost like. But yeah, Cinderella, I watch it back. I'm like, she deserves everything because she is the way that she is, and that's strong and strength in itself.
Mm. Damn.
It's a different type of strength.
Disney Princess is doing right. And they have the new Disney Little Mermaid movie coming out too, the live action.
So excited, and she's
Yes!
so pretty. Like I
Dude,
remember
so
it was
pretty.
announced back then. I was like, oh, she's perfect. Because oh my god, you need to listen to Haley's other songs. She sings like a princess.
She
She
is a
literally,
princess.
I
I
can
hadn't heard of her
hear
before. I kept thinking,
birds.
like, I saw her name and I'm like, I feel like I've seen this name before, and I feel like it sounds similar to some other celebrities. That's probably why. Because, like, when I looked her up, I was like, I've never heard of her before, but she's so pretty, and, like, she looks so perfect for this role, and her voice is just an
Mhm.
angel.
Oh my god. Okay, after this, I have to send you all of her videos because she literally sounds like a goddess.
Okay, okay.
I'm like, how is it possible?
Because she is.
Yeah, I'm
That's why.
so excited. And have you seen all of the videos of the young girls like reacting to Ariel?
No, I
Oh
haven't!
my god, I have to send you all these black and
Ah!
brown girls. And she's like, Mama, she's like me. It
Oh!
was so heartwarming. I literally cried every single one. Like every single one that popped up on my newsfeed, I just cried.
Dude, that's like some wholesome shit right there. Like, this is
I
what I
know.
want to
It's just
see.
so good to see the representation. I remember when Mulan came out, I was like,
Dude.
it was just so and it talked about like very like strictly Asian like family
Mm.
mindset that I was like, oh my god, that's so amazing. Like that I could relate to this because it's a
Mm.
common thing rather than like my family's just really messed up. And my family's not like other families. It's just that,
It like validates you and your feelings of like this does happen. It's not like I'm some anomaly.
alien in
Yeah,
this
like
world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I like going back to our, like the very beginning, like I think that's what's so great about like giving these characters like relatability things, cuz it's like I mean just me in general is or like us in general, it's like it feels so isolating when you never hear someone feel like the way you do, and it can be so it makes you feel so lonely. Like I feel like
Mhm.
loneliness has become such a prevailing issue in today's society, and it comes
Yeah.
from like people just not talking about how they feel and people not hearing how other people feel and them just feeling alone because they feel no one else feels the way they do because no one talks about it because no one they're like ashamed, like they don't think it's normal, and
Yeah.
it's like a cycle in itself. No one talks about it and then you feel lonely, and you feel lonely because no one talks about it.
So true. And then the fact that, we label certain emotions as negative and like positive rather than just acknowledging that they're just normal human emotions and
Yeah,
it's okay to feel.
yeah,
I think it's really important.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I think we've had quite a long conversation, man. This has been very productive. I learned a lot. And now
I know.
I have some
I
shit
always
to
love
read.
talking about these. If you guys have time and you liked any things we talked about, definitely check out Your Throne if you want some girl power.
Yes. You want some women supporting women, and you want to be
Yes.
some badass women, and you want to get stepped on by women.
All of the above, please. Thank you very much. If you want to really see how messed up the world is, you can check out Sadistic Beauty, the BL version.
It's
And
the
then if
side
you want to,
story. So, like, it's related, it's supposed to come after the first story, but I don't even
yes,
think you
no,
really need the first story. It has some relation, but it's okay.
no, I feel like it is still like important to kind of see
I guess. Okay,
how,
there are parts of it that are, like, yeah,
yeah.
because backstory in there, too.
hmm And so
Okay.
check it out. Let us know you have any recommendations, if anything struck a chord, and go watch Violet Evergarden and Maquia if you haven't already. And that's it, right?
Yeah, that should be it. Please leave recommendations because I would like to see some things that people relate to for sure. Like always into reading that.
Yeah, like what struck your heart? What
Yes.
made your heart like, ow? Why did you hurt me
What
like
gave
this?
you a boo boo and put a band aid?
Okay, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. I'm Kane.
And I'm Isel. Bye
Bye. See you.
bye.